Here we are. Good morning, and turn the volumes up. Hopefully, you brought a cup of coffee, or a cup of tea, chamomile, water, whatever it is. Thank you for joining me this morning live. And if you're watching this on replay, thank you for coming back on the replay. And as you can see, the prompt here is the subject is today is about start again, starting again, starting over, whatever phrase you prefer to use. And it's something that tends to come up quite often, especially in the entrepreneurial space, the business owner, the service provision space. Is when something's not working, what do we need to do? Well, we need to look at the data. We need to look at the evidence before us and go, okay, may need to start again. And I think that catches a lot of people out. Okay, so we'll kind of dig into that in a little bit. First of all, obviously, it's clearly on the wrong side over here, that way. There's a QR code you can scan, you can contact me. This isn't about pitching services to you, but obviously I'm going to promote my services. So there they are. If you'd like to make contact, details are there. And I do these every Tuesday and Thursday mornings, unless they have to change, depending on schedule, but that's ideally what I'm aiming to do, just for 10 minutes. My name's Martin. Conscious development is my thing. It's bringing awareness to every element of our world and how we can move forward in an aligned state of being, to keep us happy within ourselves. Fundamentally, that's what it's about. And I'll introduce at certain points, I'll introduce the conscious development map. And this is about the 5 key areas of alignment, working out for myself through to our well-being, relationships, financial situation, or personal economy, as I call it, and then our fulfillment. What are we here to do? So I'll refer back to this in a little while. But first of all, let's talk about the subject of starting again. It freaks a lot of people out. Especially as we go through our worlds, especially as we go through our life, because the more responsibilities I have, the more that people are relying on us as individuals, or our perception that they are relying on us. And I'm not being contentious. What I mean is that sometimes we can put ourselves into situations where really, actually, those people can take care of the things that we're taking care of them for themselves. But that kind of feeds out into relationships, our business environment, our community interests, all these kind of things, but we can dig into again with a conscious development map. So starting over, sometimes it's a cataclysmic, and I have to be very careful saying that, to pronounce that, a cataclysmic event, something quite shocking that actually forces us to start again. And what that is, that's the universe going, you didn't take notice of the signs. So I'm going to present something to you into your world. It could be health. It could be social, it could be a relationship, it could be financial, it could be global. We've had a global pandemic 5 years ago that started off, whatever your views are around it, and it shook up the world, how we operate, the truths we see in everything that's presented to us, whether we question the things, whether we accept things. And a lot of people were forced to start again, whether they wanted to or not. And a lot of the time it was circumstances beyond their control. And it's that control word is what can we control? Simon Sinek talks about controlling, or it's Stephen Covey, I do apologize, talks about controlling the controllables. Everything else is beyond our realms, and we can apply thought to it. We can think that we can have influence on it, but a lot of the time we can't. So I'm interested in, or we're not able to at that particular time, depending on what our position is, our skill sets, and the connectedness of other people in our world, and what our reach is to affect and implement certain things in areas that we initially don't think we have control over. But I'm more interested in what you can do, and what you can do when you've got a situation that isn't working. Let's take the conscious development map. I'm looking down here because obviously I have to see where the mouse is. And I'm not sure if you've seen this at all before, but this is a very practical tool in relation to, and it's a framework. I base all my work on it, whether I'm working with you individually, whether I'm working with you as a leader of a business, within a business, whatever it is, whether you've someone that's been referred to me, whether I've, pitched to you, I will use this as a core model, because it always comes back to the individual right at the heart of it. Our mindset, our energy, what's our resonance like, which kind of fulfills into our identity, our values and our beliefs. That's the core of who we are. So for instance, let's say, I'll be honest, let's look at personal economy. Now I myself are having to rethink quite considerably the way that I work and the services that I provide and the results I'm getting or not getting as I would expect to. Now that comes down to my actions. That comes down to how am I showing up in the marketplace? Am I clear about my message? Am I actually speaking to the right people? And on both those counts, I'm not. And I apologize if you're the right person. But what I mean is, historically, I've started to look at things. I've started to work through with my partner. She's a business mentor. She is exceptional at reminding me of my blind spots appropriately. And I go, yeah, I chose to ignore that. And I'm wholeheartedly about conscious development, about being aware of things. And once you're aware, you can either choose to do something about it, or you can ignore it. And if you go down the route of ignoring it, life, universe, universal force, however you want to frame it, will knock on your door, will send you signs, will remind you that you're ignoring something that needs to be worked on, or that it's suggested could be worked on. I'm not saying need. Okay, that's a suggestion. Because again, everyone's perspective and everyone's lens is different. So I have to look at some of the things that I'm doing, and it will mean that I will be changing the way that I'm working. And I'm only attached to a previous model or a previous way of doing it because I thought that's how it was going to work. And it isn't, so I have to start over. So if I come back down, what are the things that are influencing that? So if I come back to relationships, and we're going back towards the core of the model, which is self, if I look at relationships, how are my relationships, personally, professionally, and societally? Well, societally is the key. Professionally here is the key, and societally also is, what are my professional connections like, relationships like? Are people talking about me and recommending my services when I'm not in the room? Because that's the best edification of what we do. There's not enough people, so I'm not having enough conversations. What are my personal relationships like? I've got an incredibly strong relationship with my partner, incredibly strong relationship with my kids, or our kids, I should say. We've got a collective, and I go beyond that, and I go, okay, I have some really meaningful relationships. Does that figure out into my professional relationship? No, there's a bit of a blocker there. So that's the area I need to work on. If I come back to well-being, how is my well-being supporting the way I want to work? Because everything is about that core element supporting the next realm, area, key area of life, however you want to phrase it. My well-being is pretty good. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm constantly in a state of gratitude. How can I be like that? Well, when you have to start again because of circumstances, some of my own making, some of external factors, then you start to appreciate, and you remind yourself of how bad it could have been when it has been bad. But equally, I'm here now, I'm breathing, it's another day, it's an opportunity. And I'm not going to be cheesy. I'm a very practical person. Okay, I'm not going to give you fluff. I'm not going to blow smoke at your bum, ass, whichever continent you're on or place you live. It's just the fact of, I'm going to give you stuff that works. So my well-being's good, and why is that? Because at the core of who I am, my mindset, my energy, my values, my beliefs are solid. Okay, so I start to then go out through the model and go, okay, so if I'm okay, but equally, there's a mindset, there's a kink there in the mindset, because if we go out towards the relationships, professional relationships, there's something I'm not aligning with there. And I have to look at that, and I have to look at the data. I have to look at how I'm showing up. And this is my own individual example here. Just checking, because the alarm will go off in a couple of minutes. So when I talk about starting again, I'm illustrating the things that I'm going through. I understand the theory. I'm a very practical person. A lot of it is experiential, but I will talk openly and honestly about where I am in my timeline of life. And that's what I would encourage you to do, is no matter how many decades you've got under your belt, how many decades you think you've got to go, because we never really know. Whilst you're here today, is there something that you look at starting again? Yeah, that's not working. It may be a relationship. I've been down that route. Changed many things about relationships, how I am in relationships. And that's the other thing, is people go, oh, it's relationships. Yeah, but how are you? How are you showing up in that relationship? Go back to your mindset, go back to your energy, your values, and your beliefs. Because if you're turning up with not good values, what kind of relationships are you going to attract? How's your professional life going to be? And how's life fulfillment going to be? There's going to be this inner angst, this inner stress, if you're not operating from a congruent and an aligned position. Okay, so when we talk about starting again, it's addressing all the elements of your world, the way you process the narrative, your programs, the conditioning, when people should all over you. There is so much to it. And it becomes quite liberating once you start to dig into it. That's 10 minutes. Okay, so scan the QR code. Let's take the conscious development map off there. Stop the alarm. I would love to contact. If you want a copy of this, by all means, just contact me and I'll send one across to you. I've even done some homemade ones as well, laminated ones I can pop in the post as well. Little visual reminders. I've got people that put them in the car, put them in their office, on the desk, because it's a little calibration tool of, you know, where is something out of alignment. And this whole model is about from here to our life fulfillment. When we've gone, what will people say we have, that influence, that legacy? What's that imprint we're leaving in the world? Anyway, I'm gonna have another sip of coffee. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you again on Thursday. Bye for now.